Good afternoon. I am Clarissa L. Manquis, and I'm taking up Master of Arts in Science Education. I will discuss about the current trends and main concerns as regards to science curriculum development and implementation in selected states in Asia. The countries are Israel and Egypt. The education system in Israel consists of three tiers. So first is primary education, middle school, and high school. In primary education, these are from grades 1 to 6, approximately ages 6 to 12, and in middle school, it is grades 7 to 9, approximately these are ages 12 to 15. In high school, these are grades 10 to 12, approximately ages 15 to 19. Compulsory education takes place from kindergarten through 10th grade. Accordingly, Israel have the standards document list five substantive areas for elementary school programs. First, they have material sciences. So this is about substances and energy. Life sciences. It's about the world of living creatures and human beings, their health, and the quality of their life. Next one is Earth and the planetary sciences. Then technology, which are the man-made world, information and communication. And last one is the environmental sciences, or it's about ecological systems and environmental quality. The population of Israel is well educated, and Israeli society highly values education. So in Israel, education is a core value in Jewish culture, and Israeli society have large with many Israeli parents sacrificing their own personal comforts, and even they have to make financial resources to provide their children with the highest standards of education possible. Most of the Israeli Jewish population seek education as a passport to a decent white-collar professional job and a middle-class paycheck in the country's competitive high-tech economy. Um, in Jewish parents take great responsibility to inculcate the value of education in their children at a young age. So these children, they have to strive for high academic achievement and educational success. And it's stressed in many modern Jewish Israeli households as parents. So they have to make sure that their children po are well educated and adequately to gain the necessary technological skills that is needed for employment. The success to compete in Israel's modern high-tech job market. So here po in Israel, they see that competency with the non-job skills such as literacy in math and in science as especially necessary for employment success. So in Israel's competitive 21st century high-tech economy. So you will see po here na in science and technology in Israel, it is one of the country's most developed sectors. In Israel, spent 4.3% of their GDP or their gross domestic product on civil research and development in 2015. And it's the highest ratio in the world. So you will see on the graph the weekly hours devoted to science and technology for Jewish secular, Jewish non-religious, and also the non-Jewish. So they give emphasis po on studying science and technology. In Israel, they count how many scientists. They count 140 scientists, and most of them are technicians also per 10,000 employees. So these are one of the highest ratios in the world. If we're going to compare po with the United States, they have only 85 per 10,000. So in the Japan naman po, it's 83 per 10,000. So in 2012 po, you will see na in Israel, they counted 8,000 to 337 full-time equivalent researchers per million in their area. So Israel's high technology industry has benefited from both the country's highly educated and technologically skilled workforce. So, coupled with the strong presence of foreign high tech firms, and even they have sophisticated research centers. So, in this regard po, we will see that Israel is the home of major companies in the high-tech industry and has one of the world's most technologically literate populations. Next po is Egypt. Yan po. So the Egyptians employed a caste system. So what is this caste system? This caste system consisted primarily of three levels, but this varies based on interpretation. So these three levels are the priest, military, and even the unprivileged. When we say priests po, they made up the highest caste. So meaning this caste did not only consist of religious functions, but also they included surveyors, engineers, teachers, and others. In many ways po, the equivalent today of the priest caste system is the skilled, highly skilled white collar jobs. So it was the priestly caste that educated the others. So they were generally the only ones who were literate in Egypt. The military was the second case. These were the soldiers who defended the country and found ways to expand it. So these are the one who defend their country during any circumstances. So next one po is the lowest class, which is the unprivileged. So this include everyone who was not in the other two classes mentioned already, because these are skilled workers like craftsmen, farmers, and merchants. So in here, you will see that for the public education system of the Egypt, they have kindergarten for 2 years, they have primary school for 6 years, preparatory school for 3 years, and secondary school stage is for 3 years. These are for ages 15 to 17. And they have tertiary level that can be in 4, 5, or 6 years. So for supporting Egypt Education Reform Project, they seek to improve teaching and learning conditions in public schools by supporting also their integral aspects of the National Education Reform Program. So it says there, the Minister of Education in Egypt, their aim is to bring learning back to the classroom. So the education of youth is very practical in Egypt. For example, there's a boy was expected to follow the trade of his father. However, there was flexibility in this depending on the interest and skill of the child. So, for example, po, the education was physically demanding, but also they have to include many of the subjects that is expected to learn in the school, such as reading, writing, math, and so on. So, what do you think the Egyptians' most important contribution to science? Actually, they have lots of contribution. Like, they were the first to introduce mummification, even some medicine, agriculture, fermentation, engineering, and architecture. And also, we know that the ancient Egyptian, they are the pioneers po in astronomy. Their expertise played an important role in determining the annual flooding of the Nile River, and even aligning the pyramids that is towards the pole star. So, um, so you will see they have lots of contribution in science even before. So also the Egyptians invented and they used many simple machines like the ramp, the lever that is used in aiding the construction processes, right? Then they use rope crosses to stiffen the beam of the ships. And also Egyptian paper, we know that is made from papyrus. And pottery were mass produced and exported throughout the Mediterranean basin. So those are some of the contribution in science for Egypt. However po, there are also educational crises in Israel and Egypt. So the first one is untrained teachers. There are still teachers that their attrition has many causes, like they have lack of financial incentives, poor working conditions, high workloads, and even they have lack of preparation, little autonomy for them, poor administrative support, and they currently have poorly designed classrooms and a lack of teaching resources. And next one is obsolete teaching practices. So what do we mean by obsolete? This is a traditional way that education was delivered was through recitation and just memorization techniques. So whereas the modern way that we do, we have some interactive methods for our children or for our learners. Next one, families in despair to find school. So this happened because um, parents they have to choose school that will make their child pass the national exam. And what's the national exam? It is a result of the exam that will determine whether the student can move on to a college education. Next one po is the educational system in Israel and Egypt turns to liberalism. So it means that rather than moving to fix their failing educational system, they are stimulated to the development of hierarchy, and even it is the reason why they have increasingly expensive private schools. Next po is overcrowded classrooms. So these are very frequent na po ano po sa other countries. So it is also experienced in Israel and Egypt. Next one, they have lack of educational facilities. They have also not experience. I mean, they do not have a resources for lots of educational facilities. Usually, private schools have this. That's why they have expensive tuition fees. Also, again, so high tuition fees po for private schools in Israel and Egypt. So you will see po na they have inadequate university access, also in funding and research capacity. So mostly those who are really can afford can study in schools that have all the facilities to do their research. And also the higher education in Israel and Egypt faces additional specific challenges. These include attracting funding, strengthening research capacity and output, and addressing mismatches between education outputs and career opportunities, as well as issues of quality and access. Um, Overall po, in the conclusion, for these countries, even though the people choose to prepare their children for the world, will always be different. Egypt was focused on raising people to support a caste system, and Israel was focused on the development of the individual and not only the state. So the superiority of one system over the other depends on the individual po. However po, we can see that both systems in Israel and Egypt have a rich history and that is still impactful until today.
Israel trails only Canada in the percentage of citizens who go to college. No nation has more college degrees per capita. Education in Israel is complicated. Israel's religious and ethnic demographics put unique pressures on schools to meet the educational needs and goals of different populations. The country each year welcomes tens of thousands of new immigrants, many of whom require accommodations in public schools and colleges, and the educational sequence must take into account a gap of 2 or 3 years between high school and college for students who do military or national service. As in the United States, the Israeli school year starts in the fall and ends in the summer, and most students attend school 5 days a week, although they're in class Sunday to Thursday instead of Monday to Friday. Like the United States, Israel provides free mandatory public education from kindergarten through 12th grade, although in both countries some portion of the funding comes from local authorities, often leading to disparities in educational quality and offerings based on where families live. Also, like the United States, Israel increasingly promotes the value of pre-kindergarten education, providing rising government funding for it. Among nearly 3 dozen leading nations studied by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development in 2018, only Sweden, Iceland, and Norway spend a higher percentage of their gross domestic product on early childhood education and care than Israel does. Israel pays pre-elementary school teachers 15% more than high school teachers, helping increase the number of those teachers by 53% from 2005 to 2016. In that same 11-year period, the percentage of 3 to 5-year-old Israelis enrolled in school rose from 80% to 99%, behind only France and the United Kingdom among OECD nations. The United States is well below 70%. Overall, spending from public, private, and foreign sources on education at all levels in Israel totaled 6% of GDP in 2015, just below the 6.1% in the United States and well above the OECD average of 5%. Another difference between the US and Israeli schools lies in the use of mandatory testing aligned with the curriculum. American students take end of course exams each year to prove they have learned enough of the state mandated curriculum for their grade level. Israelis face only one set of high stakes testing, but group matriculation exams administered in 11th and 12th grades to demonstrate readiness for college. The biggest difference in education between the United States and Israel, however, is that Israel has 4 separate public school systems serving different elements of the population. Most Jewish children attend the secular state schools. Others, mostly from the religious Zionist community, attend religious state schools. The Haredi, or ultra-Orthodox community, has its own schools, which concentrate more on Torah learning than on secular subjects. And Arabic-speaking children, including the Druze, have their own schools, which teach in Arabic and emphasize their history, religions, and cultures. The separate educational tracks pose several risks, including uneven allocation of resources and differing knowledge bases and commitments to the state. The rising portion of young Israelis attending either Haredi or Arab schools, estimated to reach 60% of elementary school students by 2030 in one demographic study, could mean a smaller percentage of Israelis prepared to serve in the army or work in the crucial high-tech sector. Israel, which ratified the International Convention Against Discrimination in Education in 1961, has implemented several initiatives the past 15 years to increase funding, increase staffing, and improve facilities for the Arab school system, as well as all other Israeli schools, in response to complaints about educational inequality. For example, the Ocha Kadash, or New Horizon Reform Program, implemented beginning in 2008, has improved educational quality by raising teacher pay, expanding instructional time, and restructuring classroom studies. Israel also has a few schools, such as the 6 hand-in-hand schools, serving integrated student bodies of Jews and Arabs, teaching Hebrew and Arabic. Despite its challenges and problems, Israel's educational system is a success compared with the other 3 dozen OECD countries. Israel is below the OECD average in educational equity, but it improved 20% on a parity index between 2006 and 2015, while the average high school graduation rate for OECD nations in 2016 was 87%. It was 92% in Israel. First and second generation Israelis enter college at a rate that nearly matches the population as a whole. 51% of 25 to 64-year-old Israelis had a college education as of 2015. For more information, see the following links.
Over the last decade, Egypt's population has been increasing. As a result, 1/3 of the population is under the age of 15. This means that 1/3 of the population is still in primary or secondary school. The supply of schools and trained teachers cannot keep up with the rapidly increasing population. Instructors are focusing more on helping students pass exams rather than on developing critical thinking and practical skills. And virtually no primary school teachers have practical training before entering the classroom. Teachers are underpaid and schools are underfunded, which leads to teachers not having enough money to provide the students with a good learning experience. The community the students are put in is no place a child should be. Students are beat and punished for the simplest things, which harm students physically and mentally. We are raising awareness to this problem that is hurting our current and future generations so that Egypt's government allocates more funding towards the educational system in order to hire. Over the last decade, Egypt's population has been increasing.